layoffs, return to office, AI is coming for your job. Is UX dead? Or is our vision of a traditional design career dead? Maybe it's time we ripped up that traditional career guidebook our high school guidance counselors pushed on us. Maybe it's time to rethink what a career in design really means in 2025 and beyond. So stick around and we'll find out. What's up, UX fam? How's your mom and them? Welcome to another episode of Beyond UX Design. I'm Jeremy. If you're new here, welcome. I am super stoked to have you. Have you picked up your paperback copy of Beyond UX Design, Master Your Craft, Beyond Pixels and Prototypes yet? Unlock the secrets of UX success and learn all the things they didn't teach you in school. Get free shipping on all orders over $30 and use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/book to learn more. This week's episode is brought to you by Jeff White and his UX Storytelling Toolkit. Now, lots of people talk about the importance of storytelling, but Jeff brings actionable clarity to storytelling, and he shows you exactly how to do it. He breaks down different real-world scenarios like how to use storytelling methods to present your work, how to craft a better case study, and how to prep for job interviews. And I love Jeff's approach to storytelling here. It's not your simple once upon a time kind of stuff. And since you're an amazing listener, and I know this course will help you out so much, I am stoked to get everybody listening a 10% discount if you use the code BeyondUX when you check out. So head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/storytelling and use the code BeyondUX to get 10% off Jeff's course. So learn some incredible techniques to influence your team and advance your UX career. And if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you are regular here and you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you can imagine. And as always, thanks so much to Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, Marty, Tino, Adina, and one more brand new Patreon supporter, Zoe. Thank you so much for your support. And if you want to join these fine folks and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free, you'll get exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're released. You can get instant access to those videos right now for as little as $5 a month. And for more information on how you can support the show and help more people find out about what we're doing, make sure to check out beyonduxdesign.com/support. And of course, if you think the show is worth sharing, then tell your mom and them. That'd be amazing. So, career. What is a career? I don't even know anymore what a career really means. If you ask my parents, it meant getting a job, working somewhere for 20 or 30 or 40 years until you retire at 65, and then get your fat Social Security check if you're in the States here. And when I say fat, I'm actually joking because it's not very much. But nowadays, people are job hunting. People are getting laid off. What does a career even mean anymore? It definitely is not what we thought of when we were in high school or in college. So I am so excited to have Edward Chechique on the show today. Edward is going to talk to us a little bit about his perspective on what a quote-unquote career in design might actually look like in 2025 and beyond. Edward is a digital product designer with over a decade of experience designing complex, high-impact applications. With a strong foundation in AI, he spent the last 5 years working hands-on with artificial intelligence, exploring how designers can harness it to work smarter, not harder. Beyond his design work, he's a passionate educator and content creator. He shares practical tips for working with AI on his YouTube channel, posts daily insights on LinkedIn, and writes regularly for top design publications like UX Planet and UX Collective. And since 2020, his writing has focused on topics like AI and design, user-centered thinking, and UX research strategies. He's all about helping other designers grow and making sure the future of design includes all of us. Edward, welcome to Beyond UX Design. I am so excited to have you on. How's it going, man?
Everything is fine. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely, Edward. So I am so excited to have you on the show today. You and I had a chance to talk not long ago, and I thought this was just such an important topic. When we think about design careers, especially now AI, all the layoffs and everything else, even beyond just AI, the question I think often arises is, what the hell am I going to do next? What if I can't find a job? What if I am stuck in this job that I don't like? And the thing is that I think we need to redefine what a career actually looks like. And you have been doing some amazing stuff in that regard, thinking beyond just what a traditional UX design career might look like. So I'm so excited to have you on. So as we get started today, tell me a little bit about you and how did you come to this realization that I think it might be time to start thinking outside the box when it comes to my career choices?
Okay, so I'm product designer with more than 10 years of experience. Basically, I started by studying design, physical product design, and then in Barcelona, I did a master on it was not UX design, it was like web design in 2013. And basically, what's happened, I went to my professor there and said, yeah, there is something UX design. And he said to me, yes, there is something like that. He was very like pre-designer, the old one. And basically, to put it simple, I want to earn more money and understand that in tech, people earn money. So I said, okay, there is a place I can enter, or ocean, blue ocean, as a businessman talking about that. And I started studying by myself. Basically, I started by studying sketch together from the famous designer. What's the name of him? Very famous. He lives now in Mexico. You know him also, but I not name now.
Pablo Stanley?
Pablo
Yeah.
Stanley. So he shows me how to sketch, and I was very happy about that. And then I started to work in one company as a web designer, a little bit in marketing. And they laid off me because they want that I will make marketing, but I was not a developer. I talk about 12 years ago. It's not now that you can make stuff like that very easy. And then I went to another company. I was very bad UX designer because I didn't know nothing. I studied for myself. And they laid off me after 6 months. And I found another job in Malaga, in the south of Spain. I lived there in Barcelona, in Accenture, the very famous company. And then this was my, let's say, school of UX design. It was very difficult. And I studied how to work with developers because I work with developers, never with design team. And then 2 years there, and then I moved to another company that we design infrastructure products, and another layoff. So, but it was not because of me. It was something above me. So here I am. It was 1 year ago, more or less. And from that moment, I started to search for a job. Was very tired of the process, and basically start to making content and build a course about AI and that stuff. One thing that I didn't say before, I know that it can happen on the layoff. So basically after when I started working at Accenture, I started to write in Medium and share content. So a little micro content creator. So I took this micro content creator job that I had, amplify it, and now I create content for different companies, for myself. I have a course about AI and design, and search the path.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And the thing that I think is interesting about your journey, right? You've experienced layoffs, you've experienced the churn, and you found a way to make money, and you found a way to have a job, and you made your own job when you couldn't find the job, or you were sick of the churn and said, screw this, I'm going to rely on myself now, which I think is the whole theme for this show today that I want to dig into and understand. And some people are going to hear that and say, well, I don't want to be a content creator. Some people are going to hear that and say, well, I don't want to go and write articles and things like that. And the point here is not to say everyone needs to go be a content creator. But the point is that you have to figure those things out and understand what you do want and what you don't want so that you can then go and do something for yourself so you can empower yourself to not rely on these other giant tech companies that just couldn't care less about you as a person. And they are not there to make sure you have a living. They are there to just make a profit, and they will exploit you as much as they can. And you figured out how to move forward and continue to make money. And that's really what I want to get at today. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea because I know your personal story is maybe not applicable for absolutely everybody. And I don't want everyone to try to follow Edward and say, I'm going to do exactly as Edward did. But I would love to talk about your journey. So I want to talk a little bit about the job market right now because everybody knows in April 2025, the job market still sucks. It has sucked for a very long time. People are getting laid off. People now, when they are applying for jobs, there might be hundreds, or I've even seen up to 1,000 applicants for a single role. And so it's frustrating. And I would love to hear sort of your thoughts on this. When you think about the job market and you have advice for others, like maybe mid-level senior designers who are maybe they've got experience, but they're having trouble getting jobs, or they are feeling stuck because they're scared to quit because they know they might not find a job. What's the advice you generally give people now when they think about that as it relates to their career?
Let's say keep calm and carry on, first of all, because as you said, The market, it's not easy. And if in the past people say that only for juniors it's not easy, it's not easy also for senior designers. So at the end, senior designers want to earn more. They have experience, but not all the company want to pay. This is one thing. Second thing, it's what's happened to me that I'm a little bit tired of the process of hiring because
Yeah.
it take me 7 interviews, and a part of that I need to have a home task and a whiteboard, and to hear all the people that judge me about my personality. Because what is the interview? They say that it's about technical stuff. No, it's 95% personal stuff. So
yeah, it's character fit, or not character, what is it? Culture fit and all that stuff. People.
yes, and it's very difficult because depend on you. There are people that are they're this good designer, but also they fit very well to companies. But it's not always the case. And when you grow and next year will be 40 years, I'm not the person that I was in 20 years old. I think different. I want another things. You see that if you not go to be a manager as a senior designer or have a lot of contacts, be aware that it can be a problem because the people that will be 25 years old, 30 years old, it's another generation. And so we need to pass the HR, maybe the design manager, it's younger than you, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. The thing is that the age play a role here, and people say that it's play a role. So it's difficult. The job market, it's difficult. There is less jobs. First of all, junior suffer from it, but also seniors. If I explain it from different aspects, but this is more my 2 cents about that.
Yeah, dude, you mentioned the age thing. And as someone who's 43 now, gray hair, gaining 20-something pounds, and not as in shape as I used to be.
Hair. You have hair. I don't have nothing. Enjoy for that at least.
That's true. I was actually getting my hair cut, my barber the other day. We were talking about the gray hair, and he goes something like, the gray hair is a bald man's blessing. I was like, no, it's a way to put it into perspective, man. Way to put it in perspective. But anyway, the ageism is real, and I don't want to play the victim here, and I'm not trying to say I'm worse off than anyone else, but because certainly as a white dude, I've certainly got a lot of privilege that others don't. But you definitely feel that age, I don't want to call it discrimination all the time, but there is an aspect of hiring process that defaults to the younger generation, especially when we talk about technology and new technology, and people assume, oh, you grew up with pen and paper, you didn't grow up with a cell phone stuck to your eyeballs like some people growing up did. And so there's the perception often that you can't do the work. It's too high tech. AI is new and you don't know how to use it and all this stuff. Ageism is a big thing. And I definitely wouldn't discount that. I think a lot of people out there probably feel that as well. And sometimes it's overt, sometimes it's covert, sometimes it's something that people don't even realize that they're doing. But I think that's a huge thing. I don't know if you mentioned it. I assume you've experienced it, but
I will say, but I see it naturally. I don't see that it's discrimination. This is life. I take it very natural. When we grow up, we don't have energy to hear managers that tell us do that and do that. People that don't. So this is very neat to want to work with some people because you feel with them very close. It's natural. For me, it's natural. I don't care, but everyone needs to find the path on how to solve it. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. So, well, you bring up a good point too, because if we're speaking especially to the senior mid-level designers, right, and you start to get up to a certain age, there's some people that just assume I need to be the manager, and obviously managers, they tend to be older because they have more experience, generally speaking. But like some of those senior, they start to get up in their late 30s, early 40s, they move it to the management track. But there's a lot of people that are early 40s, mid 40s that do not want to be managers still. They want to be individual contributors. And so they might be facing some of that and then end up having a hard time with that next step in their career. And that's what the people, especially, that I think it's really important to have them think about, what does my career actually mean? And so I'm curious, like from your perspective, when you think back to high school, and you're in Europe, you guys high school works a little differently, I guess, but like in the States, you go in high school, senior year, you get this high school guidance counselor, and they try to get you to think about a career, and you're supposed to pick something that you like, and you apply to college, and you're 18 years old, you're supposed to pick a major, and that major is going to be the thing you do for the rest of your life. And you pick a thing, and then let's say some people pick design, or even let's say some people pick something else and they career shift and they end up in design. And they think they're going to have this quote unquote career. What does a career even mean to you anymore? Is a career like something where you think you're going to retire from a company age whatever and retire and live off your savings? Or what does career even mean? Is that even something that's even valid anymore?
No, I call it how I earn money.
That's it. I
Easy,
love that.
not complex, not
Yeah.
but because I explained there is no career today. Because look, I have a friend that I talked with them this Saturday on Sunday. I was in their house and he talked with me about the one friend of her that she has a
A PhD
PhD
in
on
translation.
translation. Yes, it's
Translating
something.
what?
No, it's because it's something more cultural and that stuff simple.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
basically, she works as she's translated, but now she understands that the work is not apply anymore. I mean, sh- because many people takes AI. So there is a lot of companies that are all the, not all, that's more traditional, and they need her. She will take that, they make the shift. So the thing is that adapt every moment for the situation, and the focus is how I earn money, not it's my career. That's how I see it. I There is some luck people or non-luck, or I don't know, that work in big tech and they long there, they earn well, but most of it will not be the case. And if the people that here is think that they will work on Facebook, Amazon, be aware that most of it will not happen, although you are the best designer ever, because a lot of cultural stuff that will not fit inside. I think we need to understand that we need to be entrepreneurs more and less employees. And that's the thinking.
One thing that I like to think about, and I think this sort of helps put this into perspective, but a lot of people, when they think about their career, they think about, I do this one thing. I'm a designer, a product designer, UX designer, whatever you want to call yourself. I'm a designer. And I'm going to get a job at a software company designing software in some way, right? And they think that's the thing. That's all that they do. And what I think a lot of people, the way that I would prefer they think about it themselves is they are selling a service. They are the product, right? They are the thing they are selling, and hopefully to the highest bidder, they are trying to find someone to just pay them. And it's a transactional thing. And when you think about your skill set that way, I think it makes it easier to detach yourself from the thing that you want to do, like design, right? Specifically. And you say, this is very transactional. I am doing a thing and you are paying me for the thing. And I think if you think about yourself that way, it allows you to think beyond that one skill of design and think about, what else could I do that's transactional that I could just get paid to do, right? And I think as designers, I don't know if it's designers or if it's just humans in general, but I don't know if lawyers or doctors or plumbers even think this way, but a lot of designers that I talk to, they feel ashamed to have another job. They feel ashamed to do something else that's not design, like they failed at design or something, right? I know a designer who does real estate on the side, buys and sells houses and stuff. And I think this is like brilliant because they have a full-time job, but then they also rent out apartments and stuff. They bought like a fourplex and they own a house and they rent 4 apartments that they rent. And that's a source of income. And some designers might see that and say, yeah, but are you happy? Aren't you happy doing design? Like I've had other people say stuff like that. I wouldn't be happy doing. And I guess the question that I have for a lot of people is, are you happy with the current state? Are you happy with the status quo? Are you happy not knowing if you're going to have a job in 6 months because this company might just decide to lay you off? And so, I don't know. I think about that sort of transactional nature of our work. It's like people see design as this higher calling, and I feel like that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when that becomes the reason for your being and the reason why you do anything, I think you lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, you're doing this to get paid so you can live your life. You're not living your life to be a designer. I don't think. I'm not. I don't know. Some people might. But I think that's the hard designers. They just have this sort of martyr sort of syndrome. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I understand. Designers think that, first of all, we are the most important people in the world. I don't know why. But the thing is that people connect design a lot with the passion. And that's very correct because you cannot be a good designer without passion. By the way, do anything good if you not have a passion. But in design, it's very native because nobody said, I will study design because it's not easy to study. You're not saying, I will go to art school only to earn money. It's come from passion. Other type of works, maybe only to earn money. But maybe if you work for the government, this is most of the, I don't know, this is not, it's not very passionate. It's for the government, tax collector. Okay. But the thing is that, yes, I can understand what you mean. The problem that we need to put focus that many designers will not have work in some moment, especially in the way we work today. And it's very, very natural to a designer to add another work, not for passion, for money. And I can tell when I lived in Barcelona, I started to work in a company. They paid me not a lot of money, but it was my first job. So that's okay. But before I worked there, I work in delivery food. Okay, because I needed money. So I searched for a design job. I worked. And one day somebody stole my bicycle because in Barcelona, it's like a national sport there.
Steel bikes.
Yeah. And I asked why, and he said to me, no, you need a good luck and that stuff. So, okay, I find a job. I sell my bike, the new bike that I bought, and I sell the lock. And in some moment, I saw that in the second-hand car list, I don't know if there is something new in the US now, but let's say car list, many people, I just advertise that I sell it, and I get so many message for people, but it's only a lock for a bicycle. And I understood that is a high demand because it's a product that costs a lot. So what I did, I opened the micro business to sell lock only in Barcelona. I sell locks for bicycle in Barcelona as a micro business. I don't know, I earned there $5,000-$6,000 per month. It's not bad and people started to know me and that stuff. But that's what I want to say here. I had this job not before I to sell locks because I find the opportunity and I need the money. And I think many of us need to think in that way, that in some moment, because of the change in the industry, we need second job. And it will be very natural, but it will not be from second employee.
Right. Yeah. And that's the key. I think that's the interesting thing. And when you think about, ask any investor, ask any investment advisor, they're going to tell you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And this is something I think that going back to thinking about that high school guidance counselor advice is pick a career, stay with that company, retire, and you are at the mercy of those companies. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a job, 9-to-5 job, 40-hour-a-week job. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's the interesting thing that I wish people would think more about is how do you spread that out so that you don't have to rely on that 40 hours a week when that 40-hour-a-week job goes away? Because at some point, it will go away. At some point, you will be laid off. Even if you've done the best work ever, you won't be fired. You will be laid off through no fault of your own. And if you can figure out how to make a little money here, make a little money there, make a little money here, that 40-hour salary going away would be obviously a big deal, but it won't be, the bank might not come to take your house or the landlord won't come to kick you out because you've got some money. The other thing that I think about, and this is, again, going back to what we talked about before, and I'm speaking more now to people that are maybe doing career shifting, and even people who have been laid off. I have talked to a lot of people who think it's beneath them to get a job waiting tables to make money while they find a job in UX design. I have talked to more people than I can even believe that would put all kinds of stuff on their credit card while they search for a job because they don't want to get a job outside of design. And it blows my mind that people would think that way. And thinking like an entrepreneur, it's to find that opportunity, regardless of what it is, even if it's not in design. If it's in design and you can sell content to other designers, great. But just like you said, selling locks, find an opportunity and do it and think outside the box, think outside the design box that we like to sort of stuff ourselves in, and just be ready to pivot when the time comes.
Yes, that's what I think. The dream of have a passion and work always in what you're passionate about. Okay, it's good to say, but it's not what will happen. Especially, for example, in a very simple case, people that have a lot of money, they're not saving enough. There is layoff. What happened? First of all, they have a high level. Maybe they have credit cards payment, high loan, and they don't want to live to the level of, they want to keep the same level of living. And there is no money. So what's happened now? So, and that's the thing. Think always about what I will do another thing, because you will never have job for all life. You can forget about it, and especially now. I think design needs to think out of the books, very out of the books now, and maybe they will work in design, but not full time. And it's very easy. But again, you don't need that you need to be a plumber, but you can also make advertisement in, for example, social media or something that's close to design, but not pure design. But if somebody thinks that they will be designer for all life, sorry to tell, it will not happen. It's happened, but most of us know.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I want to explore that. You've obviously thought a lot about this, and I would love to get your opinion here, but Thinking about the other areas that we could explore, you mentioned the sort of design tangent roles that are related to design, applicable skill set that's not design, but those skill sets that you've learned as a UX designer, I think are applicable in many different places. I assume you've thought through this. What are some things that you've explored thinking about this idea and ways that you could apply this sort of design thinking maybe, or design principles or human-centered design principles to other industries or other roles or other job money-making opportunities?
Yes, there's many things that you can do. First of all, I would take myself. You can be a content creator, write content, make videos. But for example, I didn't know how to make videos, so I need to study how to make videos. I cannot make videos for Hollywood, but I can edit my videos. I can understand what to do. And I get people watch me on YouTube, and I'm happy about that. This one thing, you can be a writer. I didn't know how to write. 5 years ago, I needed AI to fix my grammar spelling and that stuff. So now it's much more easy. The AI models, it's better now. So another thing that you can do. But you can do not only content about design. If you go in the more or less in the same industry, let me think about it one moment, what you can do. So make videos, write. If you are UX design, you can move a little bit to graphic design to make something like that. And I don't think that you need to go very far. Go all the menus in the restaurants in your hood, and you will see that most of them are bad. So you can make a template and start to sell it. Another things that you can do if you want to stay very close to design, let's be an indie maker to make small software about software. For myself, I'm not selling it, but I design with AI a lot of Chrome extensions that help me to create content, for example. And if you don't know how to code, although the AI can do it, but you're afraid, find a developer and you design, and the person develop, and you upload to a Chrome extension and start to earn money from there. So just find the way to do it and think like entrepreneur and not as an employee, because nobody will give you money if you're not pushy.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that to me is the key, right? Thinking like an entrepreneur, realizing that no one's going to do this for you and you have to go out and do this for yourself. One of the things that I think a lot of people are scared of, and I'll be honest, like speaking personally from experience here, working for yourself is very terrifying, I guess, for a lot of folks. I'm 43. I have worked for 20 something years of my life, longer than that, I guess. And I've never actually worked for myself until 2024. 2024 was the first year 100% of my income came from being self-employed, which is terrifying because I had absolutely no idea how to file taxes. I had to create my own LLC and do it all there. Now, I've had LLCs in the past, but I've always owned a business and being full-time employed. So I've never had to pay 100% of my employment tax. In the States, we have to pay an employment tax that your employer generally pays half, you pay the other half. So there's this overwhelming nature of it. And I'm curious, I know you're in Europe, so maybe it's a little bit different, but I'm curious, how did you get past that sort of, that fear of, and again, I say safety of a full-time job, knowing that nothing is really safe, but there's this sort of sense that a full-time job is somehow safer than working for yourself. How did you get past that mental block to embrace working for yourself?
First of all, my father is self-employed for all life.
Okay, so you've
It's
grown
not-
up with that, yeah.
But it's not like a businessman with, he has a small store that make, how we call it, pictures, the frame of the pictures, these things. Yes, an artist and that stuff. But if you want to make, you know how to make money, but he want to do the job and the life. So, but because of that, I understood what it means to pay tax every month. I understand more things that I didn't. And the thing from the other side, I think that my mother, it's like a account manager. So she did all this to him. So I have something when
nice,
I was a child.
So you learned with it.
No, but I didn't tell her, but I live in this situation, so I understand a little bit what it means. But when I open as a self-employed, I need to understand how it works. So what it means to pay tax, what it means, so I understood by myself. But it was not easy because basically in Europe, for example, there is a task rule that it's not easy to always to understand because of the Union in Europe. If I sell to somebody in the European Union, I pay tax in Spain up to 10,000 euros. But if it's more than 10,000, I need to pay for each country separately. So there is a lot of rules that needs to be known. But you know what's happened? I will tell you no. I ask my account manager or the person that take all the task. Every time I have a questions, I have ChatGPT. If I not understand the law, I send the ChatGPT the law. It's explained to me. But this is more or less the process. But the thing is, I'm not afraid. The question ask first and start by asking ChatGPT. It will give you the answer. If not, find the people that will help you. But yes, it's tedious. I don't like it, but this is one of the. When I need something, I just ask and continue.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, for me, growing up, my parents both worked full-time jobs, 40 hours a week, never worked for themselves. And so for me, like, growing up, that was unheard of. Like, an entrepreneur, like, owning your own business is seen as risky, and you never know. You might fail. You might go bankrupt. You might not make any money. You might have to, like, sell your house and blah, blah, blah. And that was, like, for me growing up, that sense that that a full-time job was the safe bet. That a full-time job was secure, that a full-time job did guarantee retirement and savings and retiring at 65 and living off your 401k or whatever for the rest of your life. And so it's interesting to hear a different perspective as someone who grew up with entrepreneurs as parents who own their own businesses and work for themselves and things like that. But I don't know. It's just fascinating to hear that.
But my mother is a very, let's say, employee. She has 2 or 3, 500, remember, something like that. She need to retire now. And she continue work. The company asked, I have the two things in mind. One, my mother, that is the classic one, and my father for the other side, that is no classical at all. I mean, some money, they don't have money, and I have both of them at home, so I could see how it works. The thing is that you talk about the family, it's also important. I think many people that parents, because they like the children, they love them, they don't want to suffer, and said, find a good job, be calm, and that stuff. For example, I remember my father said to me, why you work for people, go and earn money? So I don't know how to use it. So it depends.
Yeah, that's funny because I remember having the exact opposite conversations with my dad when I was younger about, don't do that, go work for yourself, get a full-time job. It just like the idea that it's safe and all that stuff. You mentioned something I want to go back to was the sort of, you have money, you don't. It's this roller coaster, ups and downs, feast and famine is what people often say. And I want to talk a little bit about this. When we think about this sort of uncertainty in the job market, you may have a job, you might not. I think it's really important to figure out how to have a runway. Because when I think about this, like a lot of people, when you get laid off, you get very stressed out, right? And what I feel like a lot of people, they're not stressed out because they got laid off. They're stressed out because they're worried about paying bills. They're worried about the money. They're worried about having that runway. And so it's really important to save that money, to have that runway, to be ready. And I would love for you to talk to me a little bit about this. Somebody who's working for themselves, or even if you have a full-time job and you just want to make sure that you have that runway, how do you recommend people, and by the way, you're not an investment advisor, take all of this with a grain of salt, but I'm curious, what do you do to make sure that you have that runway? Are you stick X amount of percent in a savings account every month, or how are you doing that to make sure that you've got that runway when one of those revenue streams goes away?
Okay. I can talk about myself again. I don't suggest anyone to do that stuff, but I can talk about myself. First of all, I don't like products in my life. I buy the less I can. For example, first of all, don't spend money when you don't need to spend money. That's all, and save it. It's easy to say, difficult to do. There is no magic here. But lucky, I don't like to buy a lot of things. Only things that help me. For example, if I need something to work, I will buy one of the best one or the best one, the best thing. But buy stupid stuff, not this thing. Save money, you can invest if you want, but at least not spend all of your money. And let's imagine that you save in the bank enough money to 2 years without income, how much you feel comfortable, or 3 months, 1 week, depend on you. So you can think about it like that. How much money I need to live in X time if I will be comfortable. There are entrepreneurs that are very good. They can live without money in the bank for a month and they do it well. And I prefer that I'm more stressed. I prefer person that I'm more stressed. So I saved more when I could. And the magic here, when you could save, you need to save. Because how you said in the States, when there is rain, the bank will not give you an umbrella or something like that. When money problems came, nobody will help you. Remember that. So save enough to be comfortable, to live comfortable. I think that is the most important thing. Because most of us will know what it's layoff in certain moment.
Yeah, I love that. Not everybody's got the Silicon Valley software income. But let's be honest, a UX designer, even working in a large enterprise internal IT team, is making 6 figures or more a year. generally speaking. Not everybody, obviously, but you get used to that income. You get used to that salary, and the lifestyle creep is a very real thing. You get used to that money. Oh, I can buy this extra thing, or oh yeah, one more subscription. What's an extra 10, $15 a month? $15 here, $15 there. Going out for coffee every morning, going out to lunch all the time, going out to dinner because you can afford it, shopping at Whole Foods instead of Walmart because you can afford it now. You get used to those things, and then that's, I think, more than anything. And again, speaking for myself, I'm not judging anybody who does those things. More power to you if you enjoy it. But you get used to a certain lifestyle. You end up getting an apartment that's probably more than you might be able to afford otherwise, or a mortgage, or buy an extra car. You get a nicer car. You upgrade the car. And now your car note's an extra $200-$300 a month higher than if you had bought the base model. And I'm not saying live like a pauper or anything like that, but just be very aware that you get used to those things. And when that tech salary goes away, to me at least, that's the source of stress. Those extra things that I bought into, I'm now not able to afford, even though I could have afforded whatever. When I first started out, I was making like $25,000 a year. Somehow I survived on $25,000 a year. And now my wife and I are making 100K plus tech salaries and all that stuff. And I couldn't even imagine living on $25,000. I guess when I was making $25,000 a year, that wasn't the poverty level. Now that's like the poverty line in the States. But anyway, that lifestyle creep, it is so easy to fall into. And I think that's just an important call out that you mentioned is live within your means, splurge, treat yourself, you earned it. But at some point, just realize you got to save money. And that runway is so important. That runway, like you said, 1, 2, 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, if you can afford it. I don't know. For me personally, high interest savings account, making API, I don't know, like 1%. It adds up. It's not a lot, but it adds up. And just having that money ready if you need it. To me, it just reduces the stress. It makes going off and taking those risks of working for yourself, it's like a little bit easier. I don't know. That's just my personal perspective.
But you talk about lifestyle. Let's talk about real life. Imagine that you need to go to the dentist, and you don't have money. You know, this is a real problem. In the States, you need to pay also for the healthcare. The healthcare. So, hey, this is more important than buy a car, because in the moment you will need it, And another thing about lifestyle, but it's a little bit different in between Europe and the States. I have a friend in the States, in Jersey, and I like to go to the States because in the States, you feel that everything you can buy. It's a culture that, like, you go to, for example, to the coffee shop, you want coffee with cream. Although they don't have coffee with cream, you pay, you will get. And this difference for me, it's also about the place you live, the lifestyle, then the hood you live, the people that's surrounding you. Because if you are in surrounding with people that earn a lot of money and you lay off, it will be difficult for you to meet with them because they go to a restaurant that maybe don't want to pay now. So it's not only, it's on the social part, not in the personal part, and we need to take care of that. It's not you that you cannot offer. You can, but it's not only yourself with yourself. It's also how people see me. So that's another factor here.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know, man. Something for me, like, obviously, like you said, real life is different than lifestyle creep. Let's say you got kids, you got to pay for school, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for school supplies, dinner for 4 people now as opposed to 1 or 2. And so it's a lot easier said than done when you're single and when it's just you and you can make those decisions and cut the fat. But when, you've got a family and you got kids and all that stuff, certainly a lot harder. Trust me, I know I've got 2 kids and all that stuff is real. It's very real. But it's interesting because a lot of people now thinking about the job market, they're deciding to not have kids. They're deciding not get married. They're deciding to cut back on life. Some of that stuff that 50 years ago would have been unheard of for somebody to be unmarried in like their 40s, right? Everybody has kids, everybody. And now it's just there's nothing, I personally have no problem. Anybody wants to not have kids, that's totally cool. But it's like a cultural shift over time of people realizing that, why am I going to have kids? Why am I going to put myself in all that debt, pay for college and all that stuff? Some people are just choosing not to do it. And it's just crazy to think about like how a lot of that has to do with the economy and the job market because they don't feel safe. They don't feel secure.
Yes, but someone needs to solve it. Because if people not have children because only for money, it's a little bit problem because it's the nature of people. In Some people don't want because they don't want. Okay, that's one another thing. But if you don't do it only for money, not because, yes, it's a problem, not for you also because somebody needs to solve it but it's more than us, something global, country, that stuff. But yes, and now connect all the dots together. This is one of the things that if people will not be secure in their job and not understand how to be entrepreneur, it affect also the society in that way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's happened also now. And it's happened here in Spain. People said we cannot offer. So somebody needs to solve it. And we need to be aware that if you want to have kids, okay, be aware that it's possible that you not have a job in some moment. So, hey, an account. But if you want to have kids, it's nature. But keep in mind that you will not be secure always. So you will need to be entrepreneur in some way to earn always money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. This is a bigger, we're not going to solve it here, obviously, but that's an interesting point that this is eventually a larger scale societal problem that hopefully somebody will fix. I don't know. I'm not going to figure it out, but hopefully somebody does. We'll see.
Maybe yes. But,
all right, man.
But one thing, if people hear it and they have 20 years old, 25, where both of us are in 40 here, don't think that the life is go very slow. In some moment, very fast, you will find yourself in that position, but more fast than you think. More fast than you think.
That is a fantastic point, man. And I can tell you, speaking from my own personal experience here, when I was younger, I'm like, I'll be young forever. And then it hits you, man. Before you even realize it, you are old, fat, overweight, thinking like, what the hell happened? Where did this freaking beer belly come from? This wasn't like this just yesterday. But yeah, man, it does hit you way faster than you think. And anybody listening that's of a certain age certainly knows that. And anybody listening who's not of a certain age, it's coming. It's coming for you. Watch out. All right, Edward. So we've had you for a little while, man, and this has been an awesome conversation. Before we get out of here, any closing thoughts? Anything related to this idea of being ready to pivot, being ready to find other means of income that we haven't talked about? What you got?
I think if you are in tech, I close it with in the tech mode, in the tech terms, let's say. Think about yourself as a startup that needs to find founding, always. Something like that. Yeah. The money will finish, the customer will go. As a startup they need to pivot. Also us needs to pivot, needs to adapt, needs to find a way to find incomes. So this is for me, if people hear it, hope it will help.
I love that. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with Lex Roman not long ago. She's from Growth Hackers, and she posts on LinkedIn and Twitter and all that stuff quite often. Anyway, we were talking not long ago, and she made a comment about how a lot of entrepreneurs will actually have full-time jobs while they work on their own business or whatever, and they call it outside funding, which I love that. It's hilarious to me. But they have a full-time job and they're getting paid, but they consider that outside funding to fund the things that they know will help them grow their own business and invest in themselves, which I just love that idea. Even if you have a full-time job, you don't have to rely on that full-time job as a source of income. You can always use that money, invest it back in yourself, just like a startup, and think about that job as outside funding in yourself and investing in yourself. So I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love it, dude. All right, Edward, so we've had you for a little while now. Before we get out of here, I've got 5 little questions I like to ask all my guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. But before we do that, give yourself a plug. Let everybody know where they can find you. Give yourself a plug.
You can find me in LinkedIn, Edward Chechique, so you will not able to write it. It will be on the description of the on YouTube also. And I write in Medium also. And now I write less, but I have, 150 articles there, something like that.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yes, Medium, YouTube, and LinkedIn I post every day. If you need me, just DM.
All right, awesome. And we will include all those links in the show notes, so make sure to check them out. All right. So, like I said, I've got a few questions I'd like to ask all of our guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. First thing that comes to your mind, you don't have to think too hard about it. First up, what is your favorite non-design book?
I will say very cliche, but I don't read a lot of books. One of the things that influenced me is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This that changed my mind. Not complex, very simple, but yes.
Yeah, I love that Rich Dad Poor Dad. A lot of people have mentioned that book. I've actually never read it. But no. I guess it ties into exactly what we're talking about, which is investing in yourself, not putting all your eggs in one basket, living within your means, how to invest properly, but how to not spend all your money either.
It's very easy book. Read it because do what you want. But I recommend it you read it because it's very easy to read. A weekend you finish it, and it's very the story there. It's very simple and understandable.
Yeah, I love that. And it fits perfectly with the theme for today. Good choice. All right, next up, what is your favorite non-design podcast? Rich Dad, Poor Dad podcast.
There was some, if I remember, about North Designer podcast. Wow, can't think about it. I just hear about design, AI, and that stuff. Not part of that more things, to be honest, about podcast. Nothing something
Not a
that
lot of
I
podcasts?
remember well. Only about design. I don't have one.
None at all. All right, that's fair. Do you not listen to a lot of podcasts? You're just not a podcast guy?
I hear the podcast, but only about design when
Only
I
design
watch.
podcasts. Okay, yeah.
Yes, when I watch
You
that
can't get
stuff.
enough. Yeah,
That stuff.
I love that. All right, you just can't get enough. That's okay. All right, next up, what is your favorite meal? This could be something you've cooked, something you had at a restaurant, something your grandma used to cook.
I love coffee. I mean, sometimes this one and pizza. Very much
Coffee and pizza.
Now, yes, now in Malaga there is a boom of Italian Napolitan pizza. They open a new one, and it's nice. It's like a paradise of this. So good, what? Love it.
That's awesome, man. I love a good, authentic pizza. Coffee, too. So do you do the coffee before the pizza, and after the pizza? Just the coffee after the pizza? How do you mix it
Coffee without stop 6 and 8 every day. And I buy the best coffee because here in Malaga they started to open a lot of roasters. Many of them, and one of the best here in Malaga. I buy them always. I like it very much.
I love it, dude. Yeah, I'm a coffee guy as well. I drink way too much coffee. I probably drink more coffee than I should. I think I've gotten to the point now where I could drink a couple shots of espresso before bed and just conk right out and not have an effect.
Yes, no problem about that.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Nothing wrong with that. I love a good coffee. I've actually been doing like decaf espresso at night now, trying to like not really affect my sleep. So I'll do a double espresso or like a decaf or something. And I don't know. It's whatever. Some people hate decaf, but I don't know. I like the crema. I don't know. I like the act of making coffee. It's nice as well.
Yes, I like it very much.
Yeah. All right. Next up, what is your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, this depends on the place, depends on the time. But basically, I think if you ask me 10 years ago, it was a big city. Maybe go to islands. I was in Hawaii, Maldives. Today, to be honest, there is one hotel in the south of Spain that I like, that it's a golf. It's a place, very quiet place, hotel with a swimming pool and that stuff. This is the place. I will say, to be honest, to make it a place where there is not a lot of people. That's the place that I like now.
Yeah, I mean, love that, dude. I heard that.
Not big cities, a small city, small village. Just go outside of the main city because I live in the center of Malaga, so it affects me.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so you're in Malaga. That's on the coast, right? That's on the Mediterranean?
Yes, it's the end of Europe in the Mediterranean.
So you're by the beach. Do you go to, because like, I was going to say, your favorite vacation spot. Is it like a tourist city, Malaga? People come there for vacation and stuff? So you're like in a vacation spot on your own, so you got to go to a different vacation spot.
Yes. There is people from all over the world here. It feels like vacation sometimes if you go to the city center. Yes, it feels like you are in the, let's say, in the place that it's the tourist place, let's say. But that's okay. Because of that, they opened a lot of restaurants and that stuff, and the quality of a lot of places now it's higher than before.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I love that. You get the best of both worlds there, I guess. I love that. All
That's
right.
right.
Oh, good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the best thing that it's always sun here, so that's what I like. No cold.
That's awesome. I love it, dude. I'm very jealous. All right. Next up, what is your favorite design tool that is not Figma?
To be honest, today, I do everything. I respond to mails. I did now for the advance of the GPT-4 images. Wow, it's amazing. This one, I like it a lot. ChatGPT. Also, I like FreePic because I can generate their images quite quickly. And they has all the LLM, all the AI models for images for included in the pack. So this is another tool that I like a lot because some models are good for images, some for illustration, so I can choose what I want. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't played around with the new GPT-4 image stuff yet. I have GPT Premium. Can you do it for free? Or is it only with the premium?
No, you cannot do it for free. Actually, they launched it. They have a problem in the servers now, if I understood well. It's much slower. Yes, and before I could generate 10 images, no worries. Now one by one, they don't give you the opportunity to send so much. I use it from Sora because there is some more advanced stuff there. But maybe in chat I can generate more, but it's not free if you ask me. But it's cost $20. I don't know why they charge $20. I will pay for it $100 also for the level it's now. For the level that they have now with 4.0, wow, that's another level of model.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't pay for the GPT premium, but anyway, all right, I'll have to check it out. I see everybody posting all this updated stuff, the action figures on LinkedIn and all that stuff this week. I guess I haven't gotten on the bandwagon yet, but I got to figure that out.
But I can tell you why it's worth it, because basically, if you know how to configure it well, you will not notice that it's a chat that write it. If you write very wrong. But apart of that, look, I explained what I did the last day so people will understand. Basically, I had an idea for the course to make an advertisement. I explained it by text to the person that I do the course with. This message, sent to it, create a brief from my message. Brief, I send it to Sora, and I the image exactly as I imagine in my head.
Oh, so you get GPT to write the prompt for the image to help you with the prompt.
No, yes, but not all of that. I take the message and say to the chat, this is what I want to do. This is what I say to my friend. Write a PRD, user story, you name it as you want, with the specific details about the image. And it's created.
Okay. Yeah.
I saw and then I take it to ChatGPT and execute it. And that was wow. I was not.
That's crazy.
No, my man, it's the people not understand what the level it is. It's a level that basically, if you have 4 graphic designer, you can stay with this tool.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy, man. I don't know. I haven't tried Soren, you said? What was the other one? The other model?
Sora, it's the tool to generate video. The thing is that you can generate in Sora also the images. But there in Sora, you have some default parameters like a horizontal, vertical image. You can set interesting, specific details on how you want the visual design will be. So I train it for myself. And now when I need an image with my brand, I just generate it there.
That's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I know I'm like late to the bandwagon, but I have just not I can't get good images from AI. I tried for my book. I created a bunch of illustrations, and I had this idea in my head of illustrations for each chapter title page, and I could not get consistent images. And I'm like, this sucks. This is just like, it was ugly. It just wasn't that good, but it was also just totally inconsistent. I don't know.
Believe me that now you can. After this
really? Okay.
Yes. I use this tool more than 5 years, and that is one of the first time that I said wow. I said wow from the video of OpenAI the same day.
Yeah,
from the video.
Get on the bandwagon, man. I don't know. Get on there or get left behind. That's what I think people got to start realizing with the AI stuff. Get on the bandwagon or get left behind. All right, Edward, great chatting with you, man. This has been awesome. Everybody check out Edward on LinkedIn. We'll put all the links and all that stuff in the show notes. Edward Chechique. It's hard to spell if you're not Spanish, I'm sure. But Edward, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. Enjoy your day.